Hi kindergarten artists! Today in the art studio we are on the letter W. The letter W in the art studio stands for weaving, and I'm going to show you an artist that does all kinds of weaving today. But this is an example of a weaving. This is a friendship bracelet. You may have seen these before or actually even made one. It's a collection of different threads that are woven in a different pattern that make this bracelet that you can wear. So clothes are woven, bracelets are woven, and my friend Janie that I want you to meet weaves all different kinds of things. Today in the art studio, we are going to create a paper weaving. But before we do that, I want to introduce you to my friend Janie.
Hi girls and boys, welcome to my house. My name is Janie Yates and I'm an artist who lives here in Cincinnati, Ohio. I work in all sorts of media, painting, drawing, designing and sewing my own clothes, making my own shoes, knitting, crocheting, embroidering, beading, tie-dye, batik, lots of stuff. I love it all. But one of the ones I love the most has something to do with this object right here. And it has something to do with the letter that you're working on in art class. Let's see if you can guess what it is. Okay, so have you ever seen anything like that before? Well, I'll give you a clue. The letter is W. Any guesses? Well, I'll tell you. It's weaving. And this object is called a loom. And the loom is how I weave fabric. So what is weaving? Well, weaving in the simplest form is when you have one set of threads. We'll pretend my fingers are threads. And they are intersected by another set. We'll pretend this finger is the other set. So this is your warp, and this is your weft. And the simplest way to weave, you go over one, under one, over one, under one. Now that would be really hard to do if I was just holding a whole bunch of thread. It would probably end up in a big giant knot. So what the loom does is it lets me hold everything in order. So on my loom here, right here in the front, is the fabric that I've already woven. And then from here forward is all the warp threads. And they go forward through my reed and then through the heddles that are on the harnesses. And they go all the way back around the back and onto a beam. So I can have a very long warp and I can weave and weave and weave and make very long fabric if I want to. And the way this works, instead of me having to go over one, under one, over one, under one with my finger, that would take forever, my loom can kind of do the job for me. And it can pick up certain threads that I want picked up. So when I go like this, do you see those threads going up and down? Now some of my threads are up, some of them are down, and I can take my weft in the shuttle and just pass it through. And then when I pull this back, it pulls that thread back against the fabric that's already woven. And then I can change up which threads I want picked up and go like that. Sure is lots of fun. I'd like to show you just a few things that I've woven because there's all kinds of stuff that you can weave. It's really cool. On this loom, I can weave fabric about this wide. And so I can weave things like tea towels that you dry your dishes with. But I can weave something long and skinny, like this scarf. I have a much bigger loom in another room that weaves 60-inch wide fabric. And on that loom, I wove this baby blanket for my daughter a long time ago when she was a baby. There's all kinds of looms. Some looms are really small, like this one. Can you guess what this kind of loom is called? It kind of looks like something. It's called a cradle loom. It's from Norway, and it's a special loom made for weaving very skinny things like that right there. And instead of having harnesses and heddles, It has this little guy right here. And when I push it up and down, I can raise and lower those threads. Another kind of loom, I'm sure you guys have seen before, makes things like this, pot holders. That's also a loom, and I made this when I was like 6. It's pretty old. So you can weave stuff that's pretty skinny and really fancy. Look at that. Some of my favorite things to weave are shoelaces. I made these shoelaces for my boots. I think you're gonna have a lot of fun in art class when you weave with paper. Sure would be fun to see what you do. Thanks for stopping by.
So let's make a paper weaving. First of all, we need to have 2 sheets of paper, and they have to be different. They have to have contrast, meaning one should be light or one should be dark. Another thing you can use if you don't have colored paper is you can use magazine strips. That works fine also. My yellow sheet of paper I'm going to fold in half, and I'm going to notice where the fold is on my paper. My fold is at the bottom, and I want to keep it right there. I want to keep my fold at the bottom. And then I'm going to cut equal strips coming from the fold all the way to the top. But notice at the top, I don't cut all the way through the paper. Then I'd have separate strips. I stop so that it stays together. So I'm just cutting from that fold all the way to the top, but I stop my scissors in the same spot, or try to, before I cut it all the way through. I'm going to do one more, and then I'll open up my paper and I'll be able to show you the next part. Next, we need to have some strips, and they should be equal widths, or they can be wavy, they can be thinner. You're the artist. But the point is to go over, under, over, and under, just like Janie was showing us with the yarn on her loom. You need to make sure that the yellow piece of paper is the warp and the blue pieces of paper are the weft that are going up and through the different parts of the weaving. This weaving was done with magazines, so that's what I'm saying. If you don't have colored papers, no worries. Find whatever you have and just practice weaving. I think it's easiest to glue down some of the ends of the strips because otherwise they kind of get away from you. Now these weavings were done a different way. They were just strips of paper that were just woven back and forth, over, under, just like we did before, but they didn't have the cut piece of paper with the fold on it. So you're the artist. You can make your weaving any way you want to with paper. You may draw on your strips if you want to. You may cut them zigzag, striped. You are the artist. You can color to the side of your paper, however you want to do it. I would love to see your artwork. You can email it to me. And I hope you enjoy W is for Weave.